Okay, fandom, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. I am your host, Jeff Hasley, joined by my co-host, Cowboy Joe, and we've got a super guest on for you tonight, Coach Casey Sully, who is an offensive coordinator at the high school level, but he also has a YouTube channel that you need to check out that's called Weekly Spiral. And every Thursday, he drops a new video of a particular player, a team, a specific offensive concept, that kind of thing. I found his site just kind of looking for some information, and he did a really great video on the Panthers, and that's one of the reasons why we have him on here. So thanks again for joining us, and I'm excited to get talking.
Inside the 30, inside the 20, McCaffrey touchdown.
All right, fandom, we are back once again, and as I mentioned before, we've got Coach Casey Sully on with us tonight, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the Panthers offense and how we can understand that. Just real quick, Coach Sully is an offensive coordinator. I guess you're an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for your high school team. Is that right?
That is correct. I also work with the receivers, so I sort of wear a lot of hats when we're going, but we like to throw the ball, and so does Joe Brady. So it works out nice.
Gotcha. And guys, I just want to let you know that Coach Casey has an awesome YouTube channel. It's called The Weekly Spiral. You guys need to check that out. If you're a Panthers fan, if you're a fantasy football guy, if you really just like football in general, check it out, because he really does a great job of explaining and understanding the X's and O's of the offensive side of the ball, and kind of breaks down various different teams, players, that kind of thing. So we are happy to have him on the show. Casey, thanks again for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself here. I mean, like, how did you get into this? Your background. And just kind of explain to our viewing audience a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I'm going into my 7th year as a coach, and my 3rd as an offensive coordinator, and I've worked with quarterbacks throughout my time. But I was a guy that never really played in high school. I was on the team, but played left bench predominantly, and that sort of forced me to, hey, maybe I'm not the best athlete, but I'm gonna understand what's going on and try to contribute that way. So that's sort of where my knowledge and my drive sort of initiated from and started from, and I sort of carried that with me through coaching. So I started as a JV coach and worked my way up, and took ideas and stuff that I was seeing in the NFL and in college and started to apply that. Trying to get guys in good positions and make things as streamlined as possible for the players that I coach. And by doing that, I found myself, explaining somewhat more complex concepts to guys and kids, young players that, maybe have never even played football before. They watch it. Cool. They understand dude catches the touchdown. Okay. But how do we get there? How do we make that happen for you?
Right.
So break down more complex ideas into more simplistic ways of communicating it. And by doing that, I realized, hey, there's kind of this missing piece, I think, in the media landscape where football can be very intimidating. There's a lot of terminology, ideas, schemes, plays. You hear all this stuff and you're like, man, that's too much for me. I just like, drinking my beer and turning on the game and having fun and hoping my team wins. And that's awesome. But my goal is to try to bring a little bit extra to the game. So help you understand what you're seeing, why teams are doing certain things, why this guy's succeeding, why he's not, and give it to you in a way that's more approachable and understandable than maybe the super high verbiage analysis level. Is sort of breaking it down to its core and allowing people to understand and enjoy the game at a little bit higher of a level.
Well, that's a good way to put it. I would think that at the high school level, that might be a little bit hard to convey at times. I mean, you're kind of looking for that cerebral type of person, right? And you can break this down too, but I mean, athletic ability is important, but so is also understanding the game, right? Isn't that, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's some guys that get it more than others. And I've been super
Mhm.
fortunate, especially at the quarterback position, my last couple of years of guys that really understand it and take it upon themselves to understand the playbook and help others understand it as well. So not everyone's going to get it right off the bat. The expectation isn't, hey, I say it once and you get it. Well, you may need to hear it a couple times, or I may need to say it a different way a couple times for whatever that I need to get across to sink in. But you got to find a way to communicate it and help them understand whether it's demonstrating or showing them the film. I'm like, hey, I know you're not Julio Jones, but look at the way Julio ran this route. I want you to think of it in the similar way. You see how he sank down when he was breaking down at the top of his route. You need to do that because it creates more explosion as you explode out and push out out of your cut. So just finding different ways to talk to people and relate to people and communicate, I think is one of the most important things about coaching and interacting with anybody, really,
Yeah. Joey, you can attest to that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I didn't learn to be a Sam, a Mike, or a Will until like my sophomore year. First year, I'm like, I just want to tackle somebody. Let me tackle somebody. Who do I tackle? Just point me who I have to tackle, and I go tackle them. Looking at that playbook, I just like, I think I'm just gonna go play soccer.
Right? Is there a particular offensive strategy or schematics that you generally like to employ with your team, or are you kind of do whatever works best with the talent that you have?
Yeah, I think it's important, especially at the high school and college levels. You cycle through guys every year. You lose your seniors, and you got to teach a whole new group of kids the playbook, and you got to adapt it to what they're best at. So maybe your quarterback's a little bit different. He's a little faster. Maybe you need to implement some more running concepts with your quarterback. But there are some core tenets that I believe in. A lot of crossing patterns. So a lot of stuff that Joe Brady does actually is shallow drags, get guys going across the field, force the defense to communicate as much as possible. So whether with formations or motions or transferring routes, that's our goal, is to force the defense to communicate. Whether we're aligning in different formations, we're shifting, get into another formation, they're trying to talk to each other and get aligned, then we motion, or we run a route across the field and have those guys transfer zones and pick things up. That's really stuff that I believe in, especially in the passing game. And then in the run game, I subscribe a lot to Shanahan and McVay's sort of principles there of wide zone and outside zone, and getting that horizontal flow from the defense, and then building some pass plays off of that, getting that stretch there. Because at least where I coach, a lot of the times you're going to get a little bit undersized linemen, and you're not going to ask those guys to just, hey, go beat the guy in front of you physically, because it's not really going to happen. So if we can just displace guys horizontally instead of vertically, I'm fine with that. Put it on the running back to read it and understand where the cuts are going to be, and let's ride from there.
That's cool. I'm learning already. Just listening to you here. So this is a Carolina show. Obviously, we want to talk about the Panthers. Sorry, Joey. But what's your opinion about Joe Brady's offense? And we'll kind of. I want to show the kind of a couple clips of your video that you had on him. This was back, I think, in October last year that you did this, but it's still the same concepts and stuff. So we will show that here in just a bit. But what is your take on what Joe Brady is doing with the Panthers? Their personnel that they have. Is that a good fit for the offense? If so, why? Who really stands to benefit? And also, if you could just kind of share your opinion, if you want, or take on Sam Darnold and what you think he can do in this offense, especially because you're familiar with him from his time in Southern California with USC, I imagine. So you probably know a little bit more about Sam Darnold maybe than the average person. So take it away in terms of how you think that all fits together.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Joe Brady and what I saw, at least from last year. I looked a little bit at his stuff at LSU and with New Orleans. And there's been some common themes there that he's brought with him, and that's a lot of spread concepts. So formations and play types can fall into that. So formations, he likes to spread guys out. That's what the spread offense is. It wants to use the entire field. By doing that, you spread out the defense. It makes the picture a little bit cleaner for the quarterback, which is an important thing with Sam Darnold or Teddy Bridgewater. Make that picture as clean as possible. It cleans things up in the run game as well. There's just less pieces, less condensed. And he doesn't only run spread formations and stuff, but he'll bring guys in and run some tight formations and heavy formations with tight ends and fullbacks and all that kind of stuff. But predominantly in the pass game, he really likes to get guys out on the edge and utilize all that space. So a lot of underneath throwing, shallow drags, digs, crossers, all that kind of stuff, especially fit the style of Teddy Bridgewater last year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that matches with Sam Darnold. But Bridgewater is not a guy that you think of and say, oh, he's gonna bombs away. He's gonna Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and just throw it deep. He ain't that guy. So how can we utilize the speed? Because there was a ton of speed, and there still is on the Carolina skill positions. With DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson. Like, we got dudes that can win deep, but we don't have a quarterback that can get them the ball deep necessarily. So how do we get those guys involved in the offense and effective in a way that gets them the ball on the move, underneath, easy short throws for the quarterback, and allows those guys to then do something after with the ball in their hands. And that's really where Joe Brady's offense is at its best. I would expect some more vertical concepts this next year, but get DJ Moore on a shallow drag at 2 or 3 yards. Let Teddy Bridgewater throw his favorite 2 or 3 yard route, and let DJ Moore go break a tackle and get some stuff after he catches the ball. So a lot of stick, a lot of drive, those two concepts, some mesh, which is an air raid concept. It has some of those principles, but he just uses it with spread formations and finds a way to get to these concepts a little bit differently. He just wants to use all the space possible, and he wants to occupy guys outside and then hit stuff underneath. Even in the run game, he was running outside zone and pitches to just create all this horizontal stretch for the defense. Like, they got to run sideline to sideline. They got to chase you. And that can get people displaced when you're running the ball or when you eventually take shots deep. He used 4 verticals, which is a tenet of a lot of systems where you're just literally running 4 vertical routes. And he ran that a ton at New Orleans and LSU with Joe Burrow, and that may come back a little bit with Sam Darnold. Empty formations, I think that's going to be cool to see with Christian McCaffrey back, a little bit more dynamic than Davis. So that'll be exciting. And give him some option routes. He likes running option routes with his running backs and giving them the opportunity to read the leverage of linebackers. So really we're sort of live reading how the linebacker is reacting to us as we release on our route. If they're inside leverage, you have the opportunity to break outside. If they're outside leverage, you can break inside. Really, they can't be right, especially if you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey that can run and actually move and stuff like that. It's such a exciting weapon to have, I think, especially for Joe Brady and the system that he runs. I think you're going to see a lot of utilization from Christian McCaffrey in the passing game for sure. And who fits that style? It's speed, and the Panthers have a lot of it, especially with Terrace, who they just got. But I don't know that he's going to fill the exact same role of Curtis Samuel, but he's still going to be a guy that can be physical after the catch and physical at the catch point and make things work there. As far as Sam Darnold goes, I wouldn't be surprised if the offense stays relatively the same. I think when he was at his best, he was throwing in rhythm and going a little bit more up tempo, especially at USC. He was more up tempo, no huddle, get the ball out of his hands quick, some RPOs, that kind of stuff, very accurate underneath. And if that's where he feels most comfortable and most at home, I would expect Joe Brady to do that. He had some mechanical issues, and there's been a lot said about Sam Darnold and his struggles in New York. And, a lot of it is pinned on the skill positions in the sport, and that all may be true, but he also did not play well. He had some real issues reading, especially post-snap. If defenses gave him different looks pre and post-snap, he had trouble diagnosing that, and that's where a lot of his turnovers and interceptions came. And when he sort of gets out of phase, there's the famous quote of seeing ghosts on that primetime game. And I don't want to say he was doing that all the time, but he would get into these sort of mindsets where he's a little bit frazzled and his eyes and his mind is going faster than his feet and his body is. So he's seeing the stuff that's open, but he's not getting in position to be able to throw it quickly enough or on time. So when he gets into those phases where he's off rhythm, or he, is a little bit frazzled and feeling pressure, that really impacts his accuracy and his ability to sort of move the chains and keep the offense going. But he's definitely got more physical tools than Teddy Bridgewater. So I think there's more opportunity to sort of build the offense and stretch the field vertically. None of us are Steelers fans, but that really happened to the Steelers late in the year as teams realized Ben didn't really have an arm. They were throwing a lot of the quick, short underneath stuff, and the field just condenses, and it makes it incredibly tough to do anything. Like it's condensed in the run game and in the pass game, and they're just like, "Hey, dude, if you want to throw deep, go ahead." And that's what happened a little bit to the Panthers as well. So if you just got to have that thread of like, you know what, we can actually hit a fade on you or a deep post and make you pay for it. Mm-hmm. I think opens up a lot of stuff and lets people really sort of get their groove and get the ball into the hands of the skill guys.
Well, man, I would say that's a very accurate description of understanding the Panthers and Darnold and of course the offense that Joe Brady is instilling. So I want to show just that clip that you had of that was on your YouTube channel that you did of Joe Brady. So I want to show that because that really kind of just illustrates pretty much what you were just talking about. So I want to really quickly show that. It's a 4-minute clip, but I don't want to play all 4 minutes right now. Just give you a little bit of a taste on what that is. And then we can talk a little bit more about it, but here it is.
Out with Joe Brady's use of the shallow cross concept, which is used at almost every level of football. In Carolina, though, he's got some cool little wrinkles and ways to get into the concept. Joe Brady absolutely loves to run trips to the field and put his running back into the boundary to open up space in the middle of the field. For all intents and purposes, immediately releasing your running back is really just like running an empty formation. What that does is remove linebackers from the middle of the field and spaces out defenses. And if you're going to be attacking horizontally and running these spread concepts, it really puts the defense in a tough spot because you're essentially flooding each zone with a route and creating one-on-one matchups within those zones across the field with your receivers on linebackers. Shallow cross is essentially just a high-low concept in the middle of the field. You have one shallow drag coming across the field and then one deep dig or dig sit at 10 to 12 yards coming behind it. Normally though, if you don't release your running back, the boundary side linebacker will pick up the drag and the field side linebacker can get underneath your dig. But with the running back releasing, that automatically pulls the boundary linebacker into the flats and clears space in the middle of the field. So now that field side linebacker is left to defend a ton of space by himself. He has to pick either the shallow or the dig. Since Joe Brady is running spread, that really targets the two linebackers in the middle of the field. What Brady does that's a small little wrinkle is that he has a switch call on the shallow and the dig. Usually they run either opposite each other or in sequence with the shallow from the number 3 receiver and then the dig from the number 2 receiver. But here, Brady flips that. And what that does is give the dig leverage on the corner that is splitting the difference between the number 3 and the number 2 receiver, and also allows time for the running back to release and pull that boundary linebacker before the drag comes in behind him. As we see here, the linebacker stays shallow, the dig is able to get inside leverage, and there's a huge amount of space in the middle of the field to attack.
All right, wow. I could watch that for a while actually, but I just kind of wanted to stop it. That's awesome, man. I love what you're able to do there, not just the video editing part of it, but the explanation. I learn a lot just by watching those, and really appreciate that. And hopefully Panthers fans can understand, exactly what it is that they're seeing. And I think you do a really good job of kind of conveying that information.
Oh, so, it's the coach in you. That is, it's the coach in you.
Yeah, you definitely have it, man. You've got it. And, we're thankful to have you on and talking about it. You mentioned a little bit about Terrace Marshall coming in. And of course, he's got that background in LSU with Brady. And there's talk about him being all over the field, but also playing like the big man slot role. How does that differ from what Curtis Samuel was doing mostly? Because it was him and Anderson, I believe, who was in the slot last year, right? Pretty primarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think Curtis Samuel lends himself a little bit more just his body type. You can send him on jet sweeps or line him up in the backfield and try to find ways to give him touches, more of a gadgety guy, skews that way, or you can run him deep and do some stuff. He's relatively versatile, but Terrace Marshall is a little bit more physical, I would say. Less quick twitch, maybe. You're not going to really send him on a ton of jet sweeps, but he's a guy that can win at the catch point. He's a little bit more physical, like DJ Moore after the catch. He'll run someone over. He's not really scared of contact. He's as tall as Robbie Anderson, but there's 10 more pounds on him. So he's, a guy that can really work wherever, and that gives versatility to Joe Brady. The NFL is really just like a matchup league, and you can have the same guy. If you can have the same guys in when you're in the huddle, it makes it very difficult for the defense to match. If they don't know whether Terrace is going to split out wide or be in the slot or line up tight and be able to block, like that makes the defense really struggle. They're in a tough position. So how do you match that guy? Someone that's versatile enough to be all over the field. It makes it tough and allows Joe Brady to scheme where he wants him to be. And I think that versatility is nicer and maybe a step up. I don't know, maybe in the first year or the second year, but Curtis Samuel was more slotted into his specific role. And I think Terrace is maybe a little bit more versatile in his ability to skew across the field.
Yeah, I almost kind of wonder if we're going to see a little bit more of, because I mean DJ Moore is great with the ball in his hands and after the catch, and we really didn't really see that last year with him. He was more of a downfield guy. He had a 13.6, I believe, yards per target, and he had like 18 yards per catch. That's that's way different than what Samuel and Anderson were averaging, right? So he was more of like the deeper threat, or at least deeper routes. I wonder if we'll see more of him in those smoke routes or anything that would be closer to the line of scrimmage and such. But
with the speed and defenses, I'm banking on a sleeper tight end to emerge and put that Brady offense to full use. Because if you have right now, they're going to double DJ. Terrace Marshall's big, so they know he's going to get 5-10 yards right down. You do a post route, he's going to get it. He's similar like a Des Bryant kind of type of player that give me the ball and I'll physically move this cornerback, this linebacker out of my way. And Robbie Anderson is just, he's Robbie Anderson. But you put a tight end in there that could actually move those yards when you need them. I think right now the offense needs that. And I'm hoping one of these tight ends emerge to do that.
Yeah, well, you've got Dan Arnold, who could potentially fill that role, right? 6'6", 225 pounds. He doesn't sound like a tight end, right? But he is. He's like a small tight end or a big wide receiver, and hopefully he fills that role. But I mean, Carolina had the second fewest receptions to tight ends last year. Only New England had fewer.
And don't think your rivals are looking at that playbook and saying, okay, we don't have to worry about a tight end. Imagine a tight end emerging from there.
Yeah.
And my T-shirt, I still have my T-shirt, Darnold to Arnold. I have to get it sold, so.
We'll work on that. But yeah, I mean, tight end wasn't really a big thing with him at LSU. It wasn't in his first year at Carolina. So that's going to be interesting to see if he can tie in the tight end to the offense and kind of get that working. Let's see. Well, we want to talk about Carolina, but at the same time, we also want to talk about your background and your high school team. Joey, was there something in particular that you wanted to ask him? I know that you wanted to
There's a couple of things.
Okay.
I just want to know your playbook. How big is it? What do you give these quarterbacks? How many plays do they typically have to memorize? What are the top hot plays that you have? The bread and butter.
There you go. Open door here, Casey.
Pass plays, we probably have about 9 or 10 total. But within those, we can have different variations. So they change subtly when we're in different formations. If we're tight, we're going to adjust some of our routes. We also sort of work a switch concept, like I was talking about with Joe Brady of, hey, we can have that same play, but all I'm going to do is say, hey, you two switch. So you're going to run the route from the inside guy and the outside guy is running that route and inside guys run the route from the outside guy. And that makes the play look a little bit different. So really I can turn it into, whatever 20, 30 plays while teaching them 10. If you understand every single receiver's route for these 10 plays, I can work with that and adjust slight tweaks and change things and flip routes and stuff to make it look different for the defense. But for us, it stays relatively the same. So that's really what I ask for the quarterbacks and all the guys. Quarterbacks have to understand it at a little bit deeper of a level. There's, some guys that struggle to learn the playbook that, hey, I know all the outside routes and I just know, okay, well, I can't flip those routes for that guy. And if they only know those, that's fine. They can have that specific role and understand that. And that's fine. We can work with it. But the quarterbacks need to know who they're looking at and the progressions and all that. So I don't know if you've heard of the R4 system with Doug Maddox. He sort of lays out different types of routes, and we've tied that to the quarterback's footwork. So on a pure drop, we're looking at one specific route type, which is a rhythm, which is a deeper route where if we win, and we're throwing it right off the bat. The longer we hold onto the ball, the harder it's going to be to throw a deep ball, especially at the high school level. Like if you're holding that for 5 seconds and the dude's wide open 50 yards down the field, well, can your dude throw it 50 yards? Sometimes not. So that's not super useful if, you can't get the ball all the way down there. So there's the rhythms, and then one hitch, you're looking at reads, which are digs or 10-yard outs. So when a receiver is breaking down to break on a cut, that takes a little bit extra time. So that syncs with the quarterback's footwork with that one hitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then a hitch. It also takes the receiver a little bit longer than just a fade where he's open right away or he's not. And then underneath routes where we can throw those whenever we want if we feel a blitz, but they're shorter routes and sort of outlets, checkdowns for the quarterbacks, or right away if we like the matchup right away, we can throw it. So trying to synchronize all those things together and create as simple as a playbook as possible while giving the illusion of complexity to the defense is the goal there, at least in the passing game.
Yeah, I like that. You set that confusion for that defense. And trust me, that Mike linebacker is going to be all confused.
That's the goal. We want him looking at coach on the sideline like,
hey, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah. What do I do? What do I do? Oh, yeah, that's got to be like
me coming from a defense. I'm just yelling at him like, just get in the middle.
Yeah, so just blitz.
Yeah. Casey, I got to ask you, man, what is like your end goal here? I mean, you're a high school offensive coordinator now. Do you have specific aspirations of where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years from now? What is it that you are? What is it that you want to be? I don't want to say when you grow up. Obviously, you've grown up, but in the future, say what would be your goal?
Yeah, I'm a competitor. I want to coach at the highest level. I want to be with the highest level of competition and go against those guys and test my wits against the best. Like that's the goal. Wherever that is at the next level, at college or the NFL, if the path leads there, like that's where I want to be. And I want to be in a room that's challenging me to learn and grow and understand concepts and ideas at a deeper level and be a better communicator and all that kind of stuff. So. I want to win it. Ultimately, it's the Super Bowl. That's the pinnacle of the sport at this point. So state championships are nice. National championship is also nice. But I think the Super Bowl carries a little bit different of a weight to know that you're truly, you've done it. You've coached the best and against the best, and you came out the best for that year.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the ultimate holy grail.
You're in the right track. You have that knowledge. You have that experience, and you're teaching your boys to prepare themselves for college and the NFL possibly, and who knows, you might have a couple players that go to the NFL just based on your knowledge. So
hey, take me along. You want a water boy? I'll be your water boy. Take me along with you, and I'll work my way up. Once I get my foot in the door,
that's how Bill Belichick got started, right? Shoot, I mean, there's a lot of different coaches who got started that way. Gruden, even, everybody. It seems like, they had to start from somewhere, grassroots, right? And let
me tell you something. With the NFL now, like the Kellen Moores, these coaches that are just like one and done, and they're coaching automatically. Byron Leftwich, all these coaches, the possibility is endless here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Any athletes you want to shout out as far as guys on your team that they're like, hey, man, this guy's really doing well, or got high aspirations for certain people?
Yeah, there's a couple. Really proud of both of my quarterbacks. Braden Young and Nick Schottenfeld have been doing an awesome job this summer leading. We're having a guy that missed the COVID season with injury, Billy Coons. Excited to have him back. Going to be a big part of the offense. Tight end, pretty versatile, great hands. Really worked hard in the offseason to get healthy and is very strong. And Sam Reed's also going to be a big part of our offense, slot gadgety guy that can get some jet sweeps, line up in the backfield, and get Ezra Levy going as well. And pretty versatile. He can go outside. He's the Terrace Marshall who can slot outside. He was a little bit bigger, that can win a physical ball and that kind of stuff. And got to give love to the offensive line too. We got 4 seniors on the offensive line. And maybe 5, depending. There's sort of one slot that's still a little bit open here. So who knows? Competition going into camp here. We get pads on Monday. So
nice.
The kids are all excited and ready to go. Even though we just had our COVID season, 3 months ago or so, ended in April. But they're ready to go and they're excited.
That's cool. Any two-way players?
We're going to try our hardest to not have two-way players, but there's going to be a few. Yeah. Especially on the offensive and defensive line. That's probably our thinnest position, just because we don't have a ton of big bodies. So you're going to have to at least rotate on both. And, you got to do what you got to do. We'll find ways to sub and get you help. Some of the skill guys and most of the offensive linemen will have to dabble in a little bit of both. Some offensive linemen are living the dream. They're playing Mike linebacker and they're having an opportunity to catch the ball and get an interception. I don't know if they're going to outrun anyone on the pick 6 attempt, but if it hits them in the belly, they're going to catch it and maybe get a couple yards.
There you go. And you mentioned the quarterback. What was it? Braden Young.
Braden Young. Yeah.
That just sounds like a quarterback's name, doesn't it? It's just like, Braden Young.
You find them in Madden.
Yeah, sophomore. So Braden Young is a sophomore, and then Nick Schottenfeld's the senior, and they both done an awesome job.
Great. Well, shoot. And what's the name of your high school team? Give yourself a shout out there.
Yeah, Tamalpais High School, Mill Valley in California. I don't know if we'll have live streams this year, but we did last year with COVID, so maybe that'll still be up and running. You can probably search that on YouTube if you want to tune in. Most of our games are on Saturday. We have no lights, so we got to play during the day on Saturday. So if you want a little high school football on Saturday to match with your college football, you can turn us on.
There you go, man. If we were in your neck of the woods, we definitely would come and check you out for sure. Absolutely.
I give you sideline passes, get you the whole 9. Drink our Gatorade.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I want to get back to your YouTube channel. I know you just did a couple different shows on you were breaking down George Kittle. I think you had one on Deontay Johnson with the Steelers. Anyone else that's coming up on the horizon, and how do you choose particularly, like which players to kind of showcase, if you will?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, NFL Game Pass is somewhat non-functional right now for the All 22. So they did some revamping, and there's no longer All 22 for the moment. So I
heard about that. What's going on there?
I don't think anyone would ever accuse the NFL of running super smoothly, especially in their outward-facing things. A little bit clunky program that they're trying to redo and retool and make it easier to access. And it looks like they're doing some of that, but in the process, they lost the All 22. They're trying to find a way to make that more accessible to people. I'm not really sure what the timeline is there. They said a couple months, maybe not ready before the season, which would be a bummer. So in the meantime, been looking a little bit at college film and taking a look at some guys that might have some big years coming up. So I looked at the Liberty quarterback, Malik Willis, this last Thursday, a couple days. Exciting prospect, very, very athletic guy. And has made Liberty relevant in college football. So that's a big to do for him. But as far as picking the topics, it's, I look at I read all the comments that people leave. And if you have a good idea, good sort of thing that you want to look at, I'm all ears and sort of just write down, all the ideas that I encounter. And whatever speaks to me the most. Maybe I'm super excited about a certain play that I saw, and I'm like, oh, well, I like how Kyle Shanahan got to this play. Let me go look back and see what were the steps that they used to build and set up the defense to get this play to execute. Sometimes there's things like that where something grabs me and I'm like, I just want to know more about this player, what makes them good, or what's making this team good. Why are they having this surge all of a sudden? And take a look at that. So it sort of varies, but.
So whatever kind of hits you in the moment, or maybe requests from other people, or if you feel that this particular scheme or team or player is doing really well, you'll kind of focus on that, right?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, guys, definitely watch his YouTube channel. You said every week you put one out?
Yeah, every Thursday release a video.
Wow. Yeah. You've got quite the following of people and we hope that you continue to do that and do well with that. Any particular, from a fantasy sense, any particular players that you have a high degree of interest in? You mentioned Deontay Johnson. Anyone that you can share?
Yeah, sure. I do have a buyer beware maybe of Kyle Pitts, just because tight ends usually take quite a while to develop at the NFL level. There's just so much stuff. You got to know run game, you got to know pass game, you got to know pass protection, you got to know all this stuff. And I know everyone's already given him the golden jacket and he's going to the Hall of Fame and all that, but be cautious. I don't think he's going to have this astronomical 1,000-yard receiving year and stuff like that, maybe 500 or 600. But if you're really pushing and drafting him ahead of George Kittle or Darren Waller or Travis Kelce, I think you're making a mistake there.
Even if he lines up as a wide receiver too, opposite Calvin Ridley, he still has to follow those tight end concepts though, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm. He does, yeah, and that's sort of what I was expecting to see. But from what I've read, at least they're sort of moving him all over the place. So I was really expecting, like, hey, we're going to make you a big slot for year one and just learn the passing game. We'll move you in a little bit, and you can do some of that stuff. But predominantly, we're just going to use you in the pass game and then sort of build on that. But from what I've read, at least, it seems like they're slotting him all over the place, and they're saying, hey, dude, you got to know it all. So let's know it all and see if you can handle it. And if not, maybe they'll taper back and. He may end up being the big slot type of dude anyways, but I think that's sort of the best role for him, and then bumping in once he's sort of NFL ready and can hold up better in the run game and pass pro and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Anybody else sticking in the NFC South? Who do you think is going to be the Saints quarterback?
Oh boy, that's the $1 million question, really. Huh? I think, and that they're all banged up now, but. I was actually thinking that the Saints roster looks a little bit like the Ravens roster if you slot in Taysom Hill as the quarterback. They have pretty high tier dudes on defense that can play well, and that was sort of an underrated part of their team last year. They played at a really high level on defense. Got a solid offensive line. You got a premier dude at receiver. Let's run the ball, milk the clock, play really good defense. We just can't turn the ball over because we just don't have the skill talent outside of Kamara and Michael Thomas, who's now out for an unknown amount of time. And so now you got a running back and you got no names at receiver. And what are you going to do? Well, let's play ball control. Let's play good defense and try to milk the clock and make as few possessions as possible so that at the end of the game, we have an opportunity to win. I don't think they'll be able to win very many games if Jameis Winston is turning the ball over. He may have turned a new leaf and fixed that, but if
he did take care of himself and take care of that interception thing, I think he's a good quarterback. He can stretch the field out. He did it with Tampa Bay when he played his best. Mike Evans played his best. So,
incredibly talented. If he just throws half the interception, throw him out there and let him do it.
Maybe he just needs glasses. I think they need to check his eyes. That's all. He did get LASIK. Something they need to LASIK, I heard.
Oh man, and the Saints are the week 2 opponent for the Panthers. So we're gonna find out real quick how the Saints are. Of course, week 1 they play the Jets, and Darnold gets his revenge. Hopefully, at least that's the thought process there. But very good, man. Cool. A lot of good insight, man. Hopefully, I know I learned a lot. I learn a lot every time just watching your videos. We appreciate you coming on. Shoot.
Before you go, I got to ask you something.
Okay.
Who's the biggest rival?
For Tampa Pies?
Yeah, for you.
Our biggest rival is Redwood.
Uh-huh.
Who's got the better edge on that one?
Coach won't be watching this.
I think we're week 6 or so. I think it's the week after. So we have 3 games, a bye, another game, and then Redwood. So it's our 5th game, but 6th of this season. So date, I couldn't tell you without.
So how did the team do last year?
We went 2-3. Had a little bit. We had some struggles, especially early in the season. One of our offensive linemen had a COVID scare and had a lot of close contacts. So our first week of practice, we didn't have any linemen, and then they had Friday, which was walkthrough, and then they played a game.
Oh.
So that's tough to get things going, and especially during COVID, we couldn't have close contacts. So you got to be in masks, you got to be separated. So the offensive linemen really had like no work during the off season, which is true for every single team. But you can't work the double teams, you can't climb into a linebacker. You're all spaced six feet apart and all that kind of stuff, which really stressed the offensive linemen. They did a great job. That we let up like 2 sacks the entire year, so that was awesome. A really good job by them. And we had a few injuries, but they played super hard, and props to the seniors from last year, because they had the longest off season in history, and they kept showing up and working from when the season was getting going in February before COVID hit all the way until March. So a full year of off season of just showing up and not knowing if they were going to play, and hoping and waiting for news, and to finally get the news and being ready and going for it. Props to them. I'm sure it was not easy to stay motivated and stay engaged. So much love to those guys for laying it all out there this last year and getting their last shot at high school football.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, props to you for the job that you're doing with the team. And we appreciate you coming on and explaining to us all about the Panthers offense, their shallow cross, horizontal attacking offense that we can now follow and understand. And of course, the players, McCaffrey, Moore, now Marshall, those are just, 3 key cogs to the offense. And it's kind of neat to see how that all kind of comes together. So cool. Thanks for showing us that. Joey, any closing thoughts from you at all?
Yeah. Honestly, when you make it big, don't forget us little guys.
I'll make sure to hit you guys.
I'm going to be there saying, I know that guy. We had him on our podcast.
We remember him back when.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's cool, though. I look forward to your videos every week when it comes out.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate that.
And I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully you guys stream so I can see some of that football, man. I'm dying to see high school football.
Yeah,
if we were closer, we would go, man. I swear we would. We would go. I know I would.
I'm there.
Yeah, I'll shoot a DM to Jeff and give him a link or something if I see that it's up for sure.
That works.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on for sure. It's been enjoyable, even as a Packers fan talking about the Panthers. I don't know. Offense excites me though. So and the Panthers got some exciting guys on offense. So it's been fun to look at them and see what they're doing and dive into Joe Brady and all those tools there.
What do you think
I'm
the
a
Panthers
fan unless they play the Packers? How about that?
What do you think the Panthers' record's going to be this year? If you had to guess,
I would say that they're now competing for the second spot in the NFC South. I would say that, and above 500. 9 and got to do the new record.
9-8,
9-8, or 10-7.
Right.
I think that's within the realm of possibility, especially if Darnold clicks. If Darnold's, what we've seen the last couple of years, struggling to get to 5 or 10 wins. I think. It's. Yeah,
yep. Yeah. He's the hinge, man. Everything kind of hinges on him, and they handpicked him for a reason. He accepted, and that's their guy. That's what they wanted. That they could have had Justin Fields, perhaps, right? But then they wouldn't have had that other pick at 8th overall to get J.C. Horn. So I mean, they by going after Darnold, they got their quarterback and they kept their number 8 pick. So that's good. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are like, oh no, what's going to happen, right, with Sam Darnold, because we just don't know. And
he's only 23. That's the thing. You guys got to give him a little chance. I know.
Yeah.
When he played, when he plays at his best, that 3-second drop and just shoot, man, he's unbelievable. Yeah. When he thinks and holds it, that's when he makes those mistakes. So I think Brady's going to get him ready for that.
Yeah. For sure. I would expect him to take a jump for sure. My initial thought was like, especially when you guys signed Teddy Bridgewater, I was like, that's a dude that can get you into quarterback purgatory a little bit. It was like, you're just good enough to not be able to draft an elite quarterback, but you're not good enough with that guy to ever really win anything. And you're just stuck in this cycle. Sort of like the Bears are of like, yeah, we're 6-10, we're 7-9, we're 8-8. And well, we have a good year. We're 10-6 this year and we made the playoffs. And, but you're never quite good enough to get over the hump, but you just don't have the draft capital to go get the guy. I'm
glad they did because they got Dalton as their quarterback. I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
this is their future.
Well, now they got Justin Fields. So
exactly. So
we'll see. Yeah, good move by them. I think that unfortunately I was pretty high on Justin Fields coming out of the draft, so I think he'll end up being a pretty good player.
Cool. Between Fields, Wilson, Lawrence, and Trey Lance, how do you rank those four?
I really did not like Wilson. Too much ad lib, too much broken play stuff, some bad decisions. I would have put Fields 2, Lawrence 1, Fields 2. Then it's really like 3A and 3B for me with Lance and Wilson. I think Lance's tools are a little bit more exciting to me. But I'm not, could be proven wrong, but I'm not super pumped on Wilson and his fit there.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, there you go. Well, we've got it right there. We've you heard it here. Cool, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks again. And cool. Well, best of luck to you going forward, not only with your team, but also your YouTube channel. It looks like that's taken off. So very good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I know I learned a lot. Hopefully our viewers did as well. And shoot, if we have you on later in the season, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, fandom, check him out and subscribe to his channel, please.
There you go.
Got to do it.
Yes, Weekly Spiral. I'll put the link in the comments and such. But
for sure. Thank you guys for having me. It's been awesome, and keep in touch for sure. And good luck to the Panthers.
All right. Thanks.
Not too much luck, though. Cowboys.
Yeah, not too much. Not too much. Yeah, that's enough to entice the viewers.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right. Thanks.
Have a good one.